Hi YouTube, this is Darkon633. We're taking a look at another Transformers review. This time we're going to take a look at Titan Returns Deluxe Class Brainstorm with Teslar. Now, Teslar is actually not the name of the original character, for those who don't know. The original name for the Headmaster was named Arcana, which at least was known in the Transformers Rebirth cartoon. Now, this is actually something weird because, for some reason, Hasbro decided to make this a Walgreens exclusive. This is something I really don't understand about Hasbro, especially with this and the somewhat announced C-3PO, since it was kind of just spotted with information, since Hasbro didn't specifically state how that figure was going to get released originally. So, I really don't understand what Hasbro decisions in marketing when it comes to these exclusives, since it seems like they're choosing some of the somewhat more important characters for once, instead of going with the somewhat obscure or variant characters such as the prototype Boba Fett, or even the Emperor's Wrath Darth Vader. So it's really shameful that they went ahead and released Brainstorm, who was the final main Autobot Headmaster, especially in the sense that Autobots still tend to sell more than Decepticons in general, according to what Hasbro's marketing says. So it's really strange why they decided to do that for this particular character. Rants aside, we'll now take a look at the box. The box is standard, with no real indication anywhere that it's an exclusive, for those who don't even know it, so that's kind of weird. On the back it shows a bio, and obviously it transforms and so on. This toy is actually a retool of a pre-existing character, obviously, and that is Blurr. While it's still understandable that due to budgetary reasons Hasbro has to reuse molds, at least it looks different enough so that it doesn't look like a complete rehash of the mold. Before we go anywhere else, we'll now take a look at a comparison with the previous generation's release. So while it does compare pretty decently, obviously this one is mostly based on its IDW counterpart, while this one is definitely more intertwined with this G1 toy. We'll now look at the figure more closely. First, the main accessories obviously are the Headmaster, his rifle, the back piece which can be used as a shield, and the bio card as normal. This is where mostly the Blurr parts come in, since, as I mentioned, this part can be removed and be placed on the side like a shield. Obviously, this isn't something what the G1 toy really does anyway, so this is just something a little bit more play value and to help use of the kibble that's on the body. But we're just going to keep it on the back. The one thing, once again, that I really do wish that this toy at least had, I'm just going to put away this since I seem to have mistransformed it at least in this mode, is more accurate weapons. It seems that Hasbro went the cheap route and released it with just a repaint of the Chrome Dome gun, whereas the Generations release actually had its side rifles. So it's weird that they went ahead and just went a little bit cheap on this one. I think that's unfortunate, especially since the weapons, which he's supposed to have, are molded on the side of the back piece, which form the front of the plane. And I think that's very strange they did that. Articulation-wise, it's pretty standard, and it's about the same we've seen with the Blurr mold. We have swivels at the shoulders due to a ball joint, and it can go in and out. And it does have a secondary joint due to transformation, but it does break up the arm design, so it's technically that's all you're going to get there. He has articulations in the arms, can bend at the elbows, and he has a wrist articulation, but it's a little bit tight and kind of hard to play around with, so there isn't a whole lot of movement you're going to get there. He has full 360 waist, so that's good. Ball joints at the hips, swivels at the thighs, bends at the knees, and feet can pivot due to transformation. And obviously he does maintain the same ball-jointed head articulation we've seen with literally every other Headmaster so far. So that's pretty much it for articulation. We'll now move on to its transformation. First, we're going to remove the head, remove the gun, and While the transformation is still pretty close to the Blurr transformation, there are a few differences. First, we're going to collapse these panels on the sides so that they cover up his hands. A little tricky there. It doesn't seem to want to bend for me. There we go. So we got that so far. We're going to open up this chest compartment, since this will actually form the cockpit similar to what we've seen with Blurr. Move the chair. Open up the leg panels. So it looks like this. Pull out the fin. And this is where I mistransformed it, since in Robo mode it's supposed to be inside, but we're going to pull out now. Collapse the feet into the panels there. Turn this completely 360. I'm going to move some components in the back so we get them more secure there. Turn this around, and we're going to collapse the legs, and this will form the back part of his vehicle mode. Peg these together so they snap. Close up the panels. So it looks like this. So we do actually need to keep it up, actually. I get confused sometimes with this mold since it does have a lot of turning involved. We're going to keep this up for now, since we're going to actually put in the Headmaster in a minute. We're going to move these pieces so it looks like this. Close up the front so that it forms the front of the plane mode. Turn these around so they face towards the front of the jet mode, and they will peg onto the sides. And with that, we have Brainstorm in his Cybertronian jet mode. We're going to transform Tesla. It does look pretty cool. I really like the design of the Headmasters. And he can sit inside his cockpit there. And there we have him fully in his jet mode. You can place the gun at the bottom. So it looks like this. And it can roll pretty decently on the table, since underneath it does have a few plastic wheels. Right here, here, and here. So it does at least have some sort of traction. So that's cool that you can actually move around like that. And well, if you just take away the wings and remove these components, it looks pretty Blurr-like. But obviously it does have these new little front extended nose cone piece and the side cannons, and with the wings, that makes it pretty different even in its vehicle mode, so that's pretty cool. I'll be back to show a little comparison with some of the other Autobots in their vehicle modes. And here he is side by side with the Generations Brainstorm first. As you can see, the Generations Brainstorm is pretty close to how the G1 character looked like, but this one is far superior if you want something that looks a lot more of the G1 design, since that one is obviously based on IDW. We will now move that Brainstorm to the side, and here is Brainstorm compared to the other main Headmasters in their vehicle mode. And I think it looks phenomenal to finally have the 4 main Autobots in the series of Headmasters, since I really like the designs of the Headmasters in general, and I think it was a really cool gimmick. So I got to say, after all these years, I'm finally happy to see all the main Headmasters from the original G1 cartoon, and also obviously in the Headmasters outside of Scorponok in Generations form, and I think they look fantastic together on the shelf, especially in a display as they fight against each other's teams. And I think it looks really nice together. The only thing unfortunate is that I really wished Hasbro did not decide to make this a Walgreens exclusive, since Walgreens exclusives, while it's nowhere near as hard as Walmart for many people, there isn't as many Walgreens as some of the other stores listed for exclusives over the years. Luckily, it seems like Walgreens' stock has been pushing up recently, so at least we have that. But overall, it's still very sad to see that, in my opinion, one of the more important characters in the main line to get an exclusive release, especially if you want to finish off your main G1 Autobot Headmasters. Hopefully, we'll see more of these characters down the line, especially when it comes to the other main Decepticon Headmasters, such as Snapdragon and Eight-Face in Voyager or something similar form. And it'll be really nice to see pretty much the main team finally go together for a really cool display. Anyways, I got this at Walgreens from my friend Sound on 12, since my area decided to be a real pain to get any exclusives in general, since to me, Walker's exclusive is by far the hardest to get out of all the exclusives, even next to Walmart, and I think that's a real shame, since it would been really nice to finally see this in stores in person, but at least I was unable to get it. Anyways, please comment and subscribe and check out Hero Club. Also check me on Twitter under Darkon633, and don't forget to check down the other channels down below. I'll be back with more transfer reviews and more, but for now, I'll be seeing you too. Bye.